This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, March 6th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Biden and former President Trump win big in Super Tuesday elections. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
More details on the deadly plane crash on the side of a Tennessee interstate.
My engine turned off.
I'm Clayton Neville.
A deadly building explosion left a dangerous debris field for miles. What investigators are saying. I'm Katie Clark.
Trump lawyers want a second chance to defend their client in the E. Jean Carroll case. We'll have that.
The Fed chair testifies on Capitol Hill today, and we'll see if stocks continue yesterday's ugly sell-off. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Senator Bob Menendez indicted yet again, this time for obstruction of justice. I'm Jeff McKay.
6 people arrested in New York on charges of illegally importing goose and duck intestines. Julie Walker, New York.
All ahead on America in the Morning. It seems all but certain after near sweeps on Super Tuesday, President Joe Biden and former President Trump are on course for a rematch of the 2020 presidential election. John Stolnis has details from Washington.
They call it Super Tuesday for a reason. This is a big one.
It was a runaway victory for Trump last night, losing just one of the 15 primary contests in the Republican primary. Nikki Haley's lone victory coming in Vermont. Speaking to supporters at his Mar-a-Lago estate last night, the former president promising things will be different if he wins back the White House.
We're going to close our borders. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to get the inflation down. And we are going to make our country greater than ever before. And we're going to do it quickly. We're going to do it quickly. It's going to go fast.
Trump now shifting his attention to the general election and Joe Biden, not mentioning Haley's name once in his subdued 20-minute speech.
This is a magnificent place, a magnificent country, and it's so sad to see how far it's come and gone.
Haley, meanwhile, has a decision to make, with the nomination assuredly now out of reach. Her campaign made clear before the results came in that she would make no public remarks last night. On the Democratic side, Biden won all his contests over challengers Marianne Williamson and Dean Phillips. In a statement released last night, the president warning a second Trump term in office would lead to a, quote, return to chaos, division, and darkness. Biden said Trump, quote, is driven by grievance and grift, focused on his own revenge and retribution, not the American people. And in a preview of what we might expect on the campaign trail this spring and summer, Trump lashing out at Biden as well.
He's the worst president in the history of our country. There's never been anything like what's happening to our country.
A recent Associated Press NORC poll found that despite the results at the ballot box last night, Americans are less than enthused with a rematch. Just 38% of Americans have a favorable opinion of Donald Trump, and Biden's approval rating is also at 38%. John Stolnis, Washington.
We're learning more about the deadly plane crash on a Nashville interstate highway. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest.
The single-engine plane crashed around 8 o'clock Monday night near Interstate 40 and John C. Toon Airport. 2 adults and 3 children killed, all Canadian citizens.
Charlie, Foxtrot, Bravo, Whiskey Hotel. Are you trying to land at John Toon?
My engine turned off. I'm at 1,600. I'm going to be landing.
Communication between the pilot and air traffic control captured moments before the crash as the pilot describes an engine failure.
Runway 2, clear to land.
I'm too far away. I won't make it.
I'm too far away. I won't make it, the pilots heard saying before crashing hundreds of feet from the interstate.
The airplane passed overhead, made a U-turn, and impacted the road, the shoulder behind me. The aircraft tumbled, came to rest on the hill behind me, and burst into flames.
Aaron McCarter with the National Transportation Safety Board, the agency investigating the crash.
We're going to basically put the airplane back together in a 3-dimension format on the floor of the hangar, which can help us determine what actually caused the failure.
Records show the plane was bought last year, and it's not clear how experienced the pilot was. A preliminary report expected to be released by investigators in coming days. I'm Clayton Neville.
The National Transportation Safety Board is also questioning why the pilot overflew his destination airport. That's soon after the pilot made his last transmission to the control tower, saying he was not going to make it to the runway. Trump lawyers ask for a retrial when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. Where are the storms being tracked across the country today? Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Carl Erickson with the forecast.
It will be along both coasts of the nation where most of the active weather will be occurring today. In the east, a storm will bring a soaking rain stretching from the southeast into the mid-Atlantic states. The day will start off with pockets of lighter rain and drizzle over New England, but even here, the steadier and heavier rain will overspread the area from the south this afternoon. Later today and into tonight, the heaviest rain will fall from Philadelphia and New York City into Boston. Rain totals in these areas averaging 1 to 2 inches, locally higher amounts around 3 or 4 inches possible over Long Island into coastal New England. The heavy rain along the eastern seaboard will cause reduced visibility, localized flooding of streets and poor drainage areas, and can lead to slower travel and delays. Rain will gradually end from west to east this afternoon over the upper Ohio Valley, but skies will remain cloudy into this afternoon. Further south, thunderstorms near the coastal Carolinas down through Florida can produce flooding downpours and gusty winds. In the west, another storm will bring showers to California. There can be some thunderstorms over Southern California that can produce gusty winds and small hail from Los Angeles to San Diego. Much of the northwest will have a break from the recent stormy weather. The nicest weather today will be found over the upper Great Lakes and Midwest into the mid-Mississippi Valley with some sunshine and milder temperatures. Showers of valley rain and mountain snow will cross Utah, Wyoming, and Colorado, although nothing all that heavy is expected. Meanwhile, a quick-moving storm will spread snow showers over the northern plains, but a band of steadier snow can accumulate 1 to 3 inches over far northern North Dakota to northwestern Minnesota. Highs today will range from the 20s and 30s over the northern plains to 80s over parts of Texas and Florida. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Carl Erickson.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. There were explosions in a town outside Detroit when a vaping supplies business went up in flames. As Katie Clark reports, one person died when the vape pens, knives, and other items became projectiles, some landing 2 miles away.
In Clinton Township, about 20 miles north of Detroit, a building was seen to have thousands of explosions coming out of it for many hours, shooting dangerous shrapnel like metal, knives, and switchblades. The building housed one company that provided gases for vape pens, and another company close by had around 100,000 vape pens in storage. Investigators said that the company was storing nitrous oxide, butane, and lighter fluid, but was storing supplies well over what was legally allowed. Clinton Township Fire Chief Tim Duncan discussing what the scene looked like.
It basically was a war zone. You had shrapnel going off everywhere you looked. You're standing outside, you're wondering, when's the next piece coming at my way?
Investigators say that a 19-year-old man standing about a quarter mile away from the building was killed when he was hit by flying shrapnel. One firefighter was injured, but is expected to be okay. Fire Chief Tim Duncan talks about the investigation.
We were approached by a special agent from the ATF to be involved in this, and we certainly gave our full approval to bring everything they can into the township and possibly along with the state of Michigan and our local investigators to try to figure out what's happening there.
I'm Katie Clark.
Donald Trump's lawyers say the ex-president deserves a new trial and a fresh chance to tell a jury why he berated writer E. Jean Carroll for her sex abuse claims against him after she revealed them 5 years ago. Lisa Dwyer reports.
Trump's lawyers made the assertion as they renewed challenges to the $83.3 million awarded to E. Jean Carroll in January by a Manhattan jury. Trump's lawyers say the award was unjust because a judge dramatically limited the scope of Trump's testimony, disallowing the Republican frontrunner for president from fully testifying about his reasons why he harshly criticized Carroll while he was president. Trump was on the witness stand less than 3 minutes. Trump's lawyers argue that Trump deserves to be able to explain why he spoke the way he did about Carroll. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
When we return on America in the Morning, market sell-off and the not-so-magnificent 7 stocks. Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Elon Musk wears many hats, but not the one that says world's richest person. According to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, that title's now held by Amazon's Jeff Bezos with a net worth of $200.3 billion. His Tesla holdings have lost about 27% of their value in just the past 2 months. Other big names in the top 10 include Meta founder Mark Zuckerberg with a net worth of $176 billion, former Microsoft CEO Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer, investor Warren Buffett, Oracle's Larry Ellison, and former Google CEO Larry Page. Stocks tumble in trading. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger is in with Wednesday Business.
Wall Street opens this morning after an ugly sell-off yesterday for stocks. The major averages all down at least 1% each. The Dow plunged 400 points, but experts were expecting some sort of drop.
Today's pullback starts out as a neat and tidy rotation. It gets a little bit messier. So, look, if this is a 5% pullback, it would be nice and clean going down to 4,900 on the S&P. That's the 50-day average. I'm not saying we have to get there, but that would be normal, but it wouldn't feel normal after 4.5 months of not even having a 3% drop.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. The markets were dragged lower by big tech names.
The Magnificent Seven, as some call them, they're not all that magnificent. Tesla's got some problems. Apple has some problems. And it's actually good that the market's starting to be a little bit more selective.
Yardeni Research's Ed Yardeni on CNBC.
I'm not hunting for my next tech stock right now because that's exactly what I think is playing out here. That theme is tired. It needs a rest. There's nothing wrong with those companies. The stock prices have run out of gas.
Ritholtz Wealth's Josh Brown on CNBC's Halftime Report. Meta dropped on a big Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp outage. Apple dropped on a report that iPhone sales in China plunged at the start of the year. Bitcoin with a fresh record high yesterday, topping 69,000, and then it dropped 10%. The Biden administration capping credit card late fees at $8. That's a lot lower than the industry average of $32. It's part of the White House's attack on junk fees gouging American consumers.
Jessica, one big box retailer is trying their loyalty program again.
Yeah, it's Target. Remember Target Circle? It's relaunching Target Circle as Target Circle 360 with promises that members are going to get quick, same-day delivery, kind of taking on Amazon.
We'll be putting a big emphasis on Target same-day delivery to your home. Food and beverage, household essentials, or anything in our assortment, we can get it to your home within 2 hours.
I'm already a Shipt member, though. I already pay a membership fee for that. Is this going to be something that includes that or something beyond that?
It'll be something beyond that.
Target CEO Brian Cornell on CNBC with Squawk Box anchor Becky Quick. Shares of Target soared yesterday, bucking the market sell-off. On today's watch list, all eyes on Fed Chair Jay Powell. He begins 2 days of testimony on Capitol Hill on the economy and monetary policy. Everyone wants to know if interest rates are going down. Earnings are coming today from Campbell's Soup, RV maker Thor Industries, Foot Locker, Abercrombie & Fitch, and Victoria's Secret. And the Powerball jackpot is inching closer to $500 million. It's at least $485 million for tonight.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, new predicament for a troubled senator and snakes on a plane after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. More legal hot water for Democrat New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez, charged by federal prosecutors with obstruction of justice. America in the Morning's Jeff McKay has details.
The 18-page indictment is woven into the charges Menendez already faces, along with his co-defendants, including his wife Nadine, for allegedly acting as a foreign agent and accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes to benefit the Egyptian government through his power and influence as a United States senator. The indictment comes after co-defendant Jose Uribe accepted a plea deal and agreed to cooperate last week with the government. The charges on Tuesday also allege Menendez committed conspiracy, bribery, acting as a foreign agent, extortion, and wire fraud. Menendez is also accused of accepting bribes and gifts in exchange for helping to benefit Qatar as a part of a corruption scheme from 2021 through 2023. Menendez has rejected calls by fellow Democrats, including New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, to resign. He did, however, step down as chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee soon after he was charged. I'm Jeff McKay in Washington.
Agents at airports and seaports have come across both the usual and unusual when it comes to smuggling items into the United States. Finding legally imported goose intestines hidden under rattlesnakes may be a first. Correspondent Julie Walker explains.
6 people arrested in New York Tuesday on charges of illegally importing goose and duck intestines from China, in some cases hiding them under packaged rattlesnakes or mislabeling them as pet grooming products like nail clippers on custom forms, that according to federal officials. The scheme, which also included illegal imports of duck blood and hawthorn fruit, involved transporting the restricted items from China to California and then on to New York, where they were sold to customers, including restaurants. Julie Walker, New York.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, March 6, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
President Biden and Donald Trump are poised to move closer to a November rematch. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
3 days of negotiations with Hamas have ended without a breakthrough. I'm Charles Philadesma.
Survival mode in the Texas Panhandle. I'm Clayton Neville.
A big cut coming for credit card late fees. Donna Warder has that. A senator says she will not run for re-election, and abortion now in France's constitution. Plus,
which films are the odds-on favorites to win the Oscars this weekend? I'm Kevin Carr.
An outage takes down Facebook and Instagram.
The Dartmouth men's basketball team has voted to unionize. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Back after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. Several major weather makers are traversing the nation with the forecast today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Carl Erickson.
There will be 3 main storms impacting the nation today. The most significant one found in the east, where a storm will bring a soaking rain from the southeast into the mid-Atlantic. Steadier and heavier rain will fall as far north as New England this afternoon. Later today and into tonight, the heaviest rain will fall from Philadelphia and New York City into Boston. Rain totals in these areas will average 1 to 2 inches, locally higher amounts around 3 or 4 inches possible from Long Island into coastal New England. The heavy rain along the eastern seaboard will cause reduced visibility and localized flooding on streets and poor drainage areas, leading to slower travel and delays. Rain will gradually end from west to east this afternoon over the upper Ohio Valley, but skies remaining cloudy this afternoon. Further south, storms near the coastal Carolinas down through Florida can produce flooding downpours and gusty winds. The second storm will be found out west, bringing showers to California. There'll also be some thunderstorms over southern California that can produce gusty winds and small hail from Los Angeles to San Diego. Further north, much of the northwest will have a break from the stormy weather. Finally, a third quick-moving storm will spread snow showers over the northern plains, but a band of steadier snow can accumulate 1 to 3 inches over far northern North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota. The nicest weather day will be found over the upper Great Lakes and Midwest into the mid-Mississippi Valley, with a mix of clouds and sunshine and highs in the 50s and 60s. Although not a significant storm, there'll be a few showers of valley rain and mountain snow crossing parts of the central and northern Rockies, especially from Utah and Wyoming into Colorado. And that's the weather across America. In Atlanta today, morning rain, high 68. Meanwhile, in Denver, partly sunny with a high of 57. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Carl Erickson.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. President Biden and Donald Trump are edging closer to solidifying their nominations to lead their respective parties as each tallies up their Super Tuesday delegate count. However, many voters would rather see a different matchup in November. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports.
It's important to be on top of your information, on your facts, to be able to administer and manage the job well. So I do have concerns about Biden's age and also, frankly, Trump's age.
I'll have to go with Trump because
I sure don't want Biden in there back again. Yeah. Biden is a loose cannon. He's actually worse than Trump as far as I'm concerned.
President Biden and Donald Trump are poised to move closer to a November rematch, though many voters would prefer something different.
Biden's out of his element, and we got to have someone else. He's just got to go.
I actually voted against Trump. I actually didn't want Trump to be the nominee, even though I know he will. I know right now he's leading North Carolina just like he's leading South Carolina and pretty much every other state. But it was more so a protest vote more than anything else.
I was actually a registered Democrat, and I switched it to that I could go either way just so I could vote for Nikki. Even though I'm a Democrat, I am so anti-Trump that I changed my party just so I could vote for Nikki.
Justin Butler is not thrilled with the prospect of Biden-Trump Part 2.
Both of them are too old.
He voted for Dean Phillips in Arkansas, but if it comes down to it, Biden will get his vote in November.
I'll vote for anybody but Trump.
In Tennessee, Joseph Hudson says he thinks Trump will make a strong president again.
As long as he stays focused and does not become vengeful.
While in Alabama,
I was a Trump supporter. The guy scares me to death.
Charles Bolton voted for Nikki Haley, but if she drops out, he will back Trump again.
Biden is a loose cannon. He's actually worse than Trump as far as I'm concerned.
The economy is doing well, and he's trying to resolve the immigration problems. And I think he's not so loud like Trump, and he's trying to resolve the Gaza issues.
30-year-old Ashley Hunt voted for Biden in North Carolina, but says she felt indifferent.
Being a little younger, I am ready for someone younger to be in office, but it is what it is.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Talks to bring a ceasefire to Gaza has broken down as the terror group Hamas refuses to agree on supplying Israel with any information on the more than 130 hostages it has now held for 5 months. And the outlook is bleak for Palestinians who live in the enclave. There's a severe lack of food and basic services as the fighting rages. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
I'm working with them very hard. We're going to get more. We must get more aid into Gaza. There's no excuses.
3 days of negotiations with Hamas over a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of Israeli hostages have ended without a breakthrough, Egyptian officials say. Less than a week before the start of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, the informal deadline for a deal. The US, Qatar and Egypt have spent weeks trying to broker an agreement in which Hamas would release up to 40 hostages in return for a 6-week ceasefire.
We call on Hamas to accept the terms that are on the table right now, whereby the release of vulnerable hostages, the sick, the wounded, the elderly, women, would help result in an immediate 6-week ceasefire and enable a surge of humanitarian assistance.
Hamas has refused to release all of the estimated 100 hostages it holds and the remains of around 30 more unless Israel ends its offensive, withdraws from Gaza and releases a large number of Palestinian prisoners, including senior militants serving life sentences. US officials have said they're skeptical that Hamas really wants a deal because the group has balked at a number of what the US and others believe are legitimate requests, including giving the names of hostages to be released.
What we're looking for and what we want, temporary ceasefire for about 6 weeks. That'll allow us to get more aid in and, more importantly, get all those hostages back with their families where they belong and reduce the violence. That's the deal on the table.
I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Wildfires continue to burn in the Texas Panhandle as ranchers in the region find themselves in dire need. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest.
The stories coming out of the Texas Panhandle are horrifying. Ranchers who came across raging flames, high wind, and extreme heat.
Yeah, the skin was peeling off my knuckles from grabbing the steering wheel inside the grader.
Casey Bright manages his family's ranch.
When I got to the top of the hill, the fire was there, and it was running 40 miles an hour beside the pickup beside me as I was running down the road. The only way I know how to describe it was probably the most terrifying, but one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I mean, everything on fire. I've never seen anything like that in my life, being surrounded by it. I mean, it's totally dark. The smoke is so thick. But when that fire went underneath the grader, everything was lit up at the same time.
The historic fires have torched widespread portions of the Panhandle. The Grapevine Creek fires burned more than 34,000 acres. It's 60% contained. The Smokehouse Creek fires burned more than 1 million acres, only 37% contained. The Windy Deuce fire in Moore County, Texas, burned more than 144,000 acres. It's 55% contained. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says there's an extraordinary need for hay.
There's a lot of cattle in the entire region that have no food. And again, there has been a big outpouring of support, but the hay that has been delivered has already been used for the most part. And the reality is, for not just days, but for months, there's going to be far more hay that is needed.
Help's coming in from other states and from groups like Texas Baptist Men, who are coordinating and speaking with ranchers like Joe McMahon, who says the assistance is critical.
Survival. One word, survival. If it wasn't for that, we'd all be bankrupt. Packed up and move home, move somewhere. It wouldn't be on a ranch, but it's survival.
Hundreds of structures have burned, livestock lost, lives uprooted. And as some families are forced to start over, firefighters are still on the front lines. Tragic news out of Fritch, Texas, where Fire Chief Jeb Smith died after responding to a structure fire. He was first on scene and is believed to have had a medical emergency. He went to the hospital and later died. I'm Clayton Neville.
When we return on America in the Morning, Arizona senator drops out and voting debacle in Alabama. After these messages. We're back. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. Consumers may be happy, but banks likely not. Banking and credit card companies have started reacting to a new Biden administration rule that puts an 8% ceiling on credit card late fees.
New regulations by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau would set the limit at an $8 late fee for most credit cards, or banks would be required to show why they should charge more. The new rule would bring the average credit card late fee down from $32. The Bureau estimates that banks bring in about $14 billion in credit card late fees each year. But the Biden administration is also looking at getting rid of the $20 billion in so-called junk fees that Americans pay each year in things such as groceries, prescription drugs, financial services, and concert tickets.
Correspondent Donna Warder, for some, the new $8 cap will reduce the typical fees by nearly 75%. That amounts to an average savings of roughly $220 annually for the 45 million Americans who are charged late fees. It's now a two-person race in Arizona as current independent Senator Kyrsten Sinema announced she will not seek re-election, posting a message online that says she believes she did her best for the people of her home state, but politically she's had enough.
I believe in my approach, but it's not what America wants right now. I love Arizona, and I am so proud of what we've delivered. Because I choose civility, understanding, listening, working together to get stuff done, I will leave the Senate at the end of this year.
This leaves Republican and former GOP gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake, who lost her election in 2022, claiming election fraud and mounting lawsuits that went to the Arizona Supreme Court before being denied against current Democrat Congressman Ruben Gallego in a race that could decide control of the United States Senate. America in the Morning continues. Thousands of voters in a majority black Alabama district, recently redrawn following a court decision, received the wrong information for voting on Super Tuesday. Lisa Dwyer reports.
About 6,000 voters in a new congressional district formed to boost black representation received postcards with incorrect voting information ahead of the Alabama's primary election. Montgomery County voters received postcards listing the incorrect congressional district after the county's election software misidentified people living in the 2nd Congressional District as living in the 7th. The county now falls under the 2nd District after a federal court drew new congressional lines in November. That was in response to a Supreme Court ruling that the state had illegally diluted the voting power of black residents. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Lawmakers in France vote to explicitly enshrine access to abortion in the French Constitution, making their country the first in the world to do so. The amendment declares abortion to be a guaranteed freedom overseen by the nation's parliamentary laws, meaning future governments will not be able to modify the current laws funding abortion for women who seek it. In France, a woman can have the procedure up to 14 weeks into their pregnancy. Members of the French Parliament overwhelmingly backed the move by 780 votes for to just 72 against. Here at home, central bank digital currencies are now digital dollar cryptocurrencies being planned for the Federal Reserve Bank, but 5 senators believe that gives the government too much control over how we spend our money. Chuck Palm explains in today's Tech News.
According to the Cointelegraph, 5 United States senators have joined hands to fight the Biden administration's plans to issue a digital dollar. Central bank digital currencies, or CDBCs, have come under fire in the past, with speculation that it gives too much control over our currency to one government agency. Florida Senators Ted Cruz and Rick Scott, as well as Bill Hagerty, Ted Budd, and Mike Braun, introduced the CDBC Anti-Surveillance State Act, challenging the Federal Reserve's authority to implement the new digital currency. Senator Budd said a CDBC would open the door for federal government to surveil and control the spending habits of all Americans. Any push to establish a CDBC must be confronted and stopped. In related news, Bitcoin did reach over 69,000 today, breaking its all-time record, and then quickly plummeted 9 points. New Bitcoin-traded funds are credited with the rise in price. Leave a comment at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
You're with America in the Morning, and Robert Workman is in with a check of midweek sports.
NBA, the Cavaliers clipped the Celtics 105-104 to snap Boston's 11-game winning streak last night. Dean Wade scored 20 of his 23 points in the fourth quarter for Coach J.B. Bickerstaff.
When Dean Wade is playing with that extreme confidence, he's a hell of a basketball player.
Cleveland also honored the Kelsey brothers with dual bobbleheads. They're area natives who played a little football. Kevin Durant scored 8 of his game-high 35 in overtime as the Suns knocked off the Nuggets. Pacers pounded the Mavericks. 8 Indiana players scored in double figures to offset a 39-point triple-double from Luka Doncic, his 4th straight. Rockets ripped the Spurs' Alperen Şengün a career-high 45 points. Wins for the Magic, Heat, Nets, Hawks, and Pelicans. College hoops, number 3 Purdue rallied in the second half to win at number 12 Illinois and clinch a 2nd straight Big Ten title. March Madness continues. Opening round contests tonight in the Big South, Northeast, and Ohio Valley Conference tournaments. NHL, the league-leading Panthers dropped the Devils 5-3. Florida has won 6 straight. Oilers won their 5th in a row, 2-1 over the Bruins in overtime. Leon Draisaitl with both goals.
At the end of the day, you need one shot, one play to be made, and we got a lot of great players on our group.
Stars shaded the Sharks 7-6 in OT. Wyatt Johnson with a hat trick, Rupi Hintz with the winner. Overtime wins for the Canucks and Canadiens. The Blackhawks, owners of the worst power play in the NHL, scored 4 extra man goals to crush the Coyotes and end a 22-game road losing streak. Penguins, Islanders, and Kraken win. 9 NFL players receive franchise tags before Tuesday's deadline, and the U.S. women take on Canada in the CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup semifinals tonight in San Diego. That's Wednesday Sports.
Thank you, sir. When we return on America in the Morning, labor union for college athletes. That and more after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. Meta's platforms, including Facebook and Instagram, went down for hundreds of thousands of users yesterday because of what the company called a technical issue. Outage tracker Down Detector said about 500,000 Facebook users had reported issues logging in or accessing the site, and tens of thousands using Instagram and those with Facebook Messenger accounts were also impacted. Some users found they had been logged out of their Facebook accounts. Others got notifications on Instagram that something went wrong and their feeds could not be loaded. The outage was resolved within around 2 hours. The Academy Awards will be presented this weekend. Kevin Carr has some early Oscar predictions.
The 96th Academy Awards are Sunday, and the sports betting sites have already weighed in on the odds of who'll win. Their prediction for the top film is, shall we say, explosive.
Why?
How about because this is the most important thing that ever happened in the history of the world?
Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer looks to be the big winner on Sunday night. The nuclear biopic is predicted for Best Picture and Best Director. Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. are expected to win Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor.
3. Truman needs to know what's next. 2. What's next? 1.
Oppenheimer should win multiple technical Oscars as well, but it won't win everything. Divine Joy Randolph is the odds-on favorite for Best Supporting Actress in The Holdovers, and the Best Actress category looks to be neck and neck.
Evil surrounds my heart.
Lily Gladstone from Killers of the Flower Moon has gained quite a bit of momentum over the past few weeks, giving her the slight edge over Emma Stone for Poor Things.
I am Bella Baxter, and there is a world to enjoy.
The much-nominated Barbie won't be completely shut out, as one of its songs should win, likely What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish.
What was I made for?
Barbie will also have to grapple with Poor Things to win costume design and production design, as odds makers are split in these categories.
Do you guys ever think about dying?
Find out the actual winners when the Oscars airs this Sunday on ABC. I'm Kevin Carr.
In a first, members of an Ivy League school's men's basketball team have voted to unionize. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh has the story.
The Dartmouth men's basketball team has voted to unionize, taking an unprecedented step toward forming the first ever labor union for college athletes. In a campus election supervised by the National Labor Relations Board, the players voted 13-2 to join Service Employees International Union Local 560, which already represents some Dartmouth workers. The school can still appeal to the NLRB and the federal courts that could delay negotiations over a collective bargaining agreement until long after the current members of the basketball team have graduated. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
That's our show for today, Wednesday, March 6, 2024. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.